welcome to Live by Design. I'm your host, Muadi, and I'm thrilled to be back with you. It has been a couple of weeks, I want to say 2 months, since we saw each other last. When last we spoke, I was headed off to New York City to attend the taping of Oprah's live class, and as you recall, I was really excited about it, and it was my intention to go to New York, run back, and report back to you in full detail about my entire experience. But of course, what happens? Life got in the way. And I ended up getting the flu. I was down for a couple of weeks, and then I spent a few weeks traveling to attend graduations and other milestone events for some young people that are very important to me. And so I wasn't able to be with you, but I am back now, and I'm excited to be here and share some insights from the Oprah taping and just some general information. Again, this is a space, as I say every week, for people who are interested in getting information, tools, tips that will help them live their best life that is possible for them, the best life that is possible for you. We don't spend time, at least not on this program, worrying about and coveting the lives of others. We're self-focused, we're self-driven. So I always have an intention to provide you with information, with a program, content that is informative, that is inspiring, that is insightful, and that will help you along your journey to the best you that is possible. And I know that sounds corny, but that's the truth. That's how I really feel, and that's why I'm here. So let's get into the show. Now, before we get into the phase of where I'm going to deconstruct the Oprah experience for you, I do have a couple of announcements. First, I want to thank all of the women who attended my Women's Worth retreat on April 21st, as well as the women who attended the Women's Workshop event that I did here in DC on, I think it was the 14th of April. Like I said, it's been a while. We had a great time. I'm always excited to be in the presence of women who have made a decision that they are going to step away from mediocrity, that they are going to step out into the real world as their real selves. We talked a lot on one of my workshops about being that sore thumb that sticks out and being unique and being different from the rest of the fingers, right, on the hand. And I'm proud to say that I am a thumb. I wear my thumbship proudly, and I encourage all the women who attended the retreat, and even those of you who maybe wanted to make it but couldn't, to wear your thumbness proudly. Be unique. Be divinely you. You're the only one that's out there. Even if you're a twin, you're still a unique entity that was sent to this planet to do really important work. So be who you were meant to be. Thanks again to the women that came out. We had a good time. If you were not able to attend, you can always visit me online on my website, follow me on Twitter. There's always information about the next ones that are going to be coming up. I also wanted to announce that on July 2nd, next month, I will be returning to Women's Cavalry Services Shelter here in DC. I'm taping from DC today. I had the opportunity to speak there a couple of years ago after I wrote my first book, Put Your Shoes On, a step-by-step guide for young people entering the workforce. And I went out there and did a really powerful workshop with a group of women around employment and how to get back into the game after having been out for so long. The women that are served by the Women's Cavalry Services program are facing addiction, recovery, domestic violence. Some of them have escaped from that, and you have come to the shelter as a temporary space to sort of get their feet planted on solid ground again before they go out into the real world. So I was really fortunate and excited to be in their space a few years back, and I'm really looking forward to being with them again soon. And speaking of books, I'm now working on my second book. I have decided to write a book based on the workshop, Women's Worth, Discover Your Purpose, Unleash Your Power, and it's due out in the fall. And it's going to be a simulated version of some of the information that we share, that I share rather, in the workshops that I do, with some exercises to help women really come up higher. Now, I know I've been getting a few messages from the gentlemen wondering when I'm going to do a workshop for them, and the truth of the matter is that I'm not. I'm a female, and I've been walking on this earth for about 45 years, as a female. And I feel that as such, I am in a unique position to share insights based on my journey on this planet and this incarnation as a woman. And although there are a lot of female coaches out there who do a lot of good work with men, I don't feel that that's aligned with my purpose, aligned with who I am at my core. And I don't think I'd be of the best service to gentlemen. So, but if you are a man and you're a male and you're watching this program and you are interested in getting some coaching, I do have some resources, some names of individuals and some books that might speak directly to the male principle and the males out there who want that kind of help. So give me a call, send me an email, send me a text, and I'll be glad to hook you up, okay? So we're going to take a little break. I think that's all of my announcements. Yes, we're going to take a little break. And when I come back, we are going to get into the conversation about my experience at Oprah's live class. It was a life-changing experience for me, not for the reasons I think you may be thinking. So don't go too far. Stay tuned. Maybe you can run out and get a drink of water or something. That's fine. But then come back. We'll be back in about another 30 seconds, and we'll get into it. Okay? So we'll be right back. Welcome back to Live by Design. I'm your host, Muadi and I'm thrilled to be with you today. Now, before we took our break, I mentioned that we are going to be spending a little bit of time today deconstructing my experience when I went to New York City back in April 2nd to be specific, to attend the taping of Oprah's live class. Now, as I said, it was one of the most thrilling and exciting experiences of my life. But not for the reasons you might think. Now, of course, I was excited to see Oprah. I have been a follower of hers for many, many years. A lot of the spiritual teachers that I discovered during her show, including Michael Bernard Beckwith, who I happened to meet when I was in New York City having lunch with my friend Tyrone. It was the universe really lined up for me that day. I met Tyrone at lunch. We were supposed to meet at a certain time. He was late, which was fine. But because he was so late and felt so guilty about being late, he said, let's go ahead and eat at Gobo, my favorite restaurant. I know you love it. I'm sick of it, but let's go. I was like, okay, great. We walk in, and in walks Michael Bernard Beckwith and his wife, Ricky Bias Beckwith. They were gracious to us. They came over to our table, took a picture with me. It was really a great experience. After we had lunch, we had a nice leisurely lunch. Tyrone is a very good friend of mine, and we always have a good time when we're together, and we always have a lot of fun, but also a lot of really deep conversations, and I enjoy the kind of talks that we have, and I always enjoy our time together. And we were having so much fun, right, that after lunch, rather than continuing down to Brooklyn, he traveled back uptown with me from Lower Manhattan to get in line to get tickets to the Tony Robbins taping. Now, I had already gotten my tickets to Depop earlier in that day, and I was told that if they had any extra tickets, that you could come back if you wanted to and come to the second taping, which of course I wanted to do. So we get all the way back uptown to Radio City Music Hall. I see the line that's formed to get will call tickets for Tony Robbins, and so Tyrone and I say our goodbyes, and it starts to rain. And I did not have an umbrella. I didn't have a raincoat. I was looking cute, so I didn't have all that extra stuff with me. And Tyrone felt really bad. He was like, "Oh, I don't want to leave you. It's raining." I was like, "I will be fine." So he leaves. 5 minutes later, maybe 10 minutes later, I turn around and I see him come running back towards me, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, what happened?" Because it's raining, And he brings me an umbrella. He went and bought an umbrella for me to stand in the rain. Now, he didn't have an umbrella himself at that moment, and Tyrone had nice clothes. Tyrone's a clothes connoisseur. And so for Tyrone to be running around New York City, allowing rain to get on his gear, just so that I could have an umbrella, so that I could be dry, that right there shows me what I mean to him and how much we mean to each other. So it was a really good afternoon. Hold on to that and remember this, because it's going to come back later when I talk about what I learned, okay? So, get to the taping. So the next day is the day of the taping. I go to Amtrak. I meet my sister Kendra. Now, she's not really my sister technically. She's my sister-in-law. But she is my sister. That girl's been in our family for almost 20 years, maybe over 20 years. I don't remember what life was like before Kendra. So as far as I'm concerned, she's my sister. So my sister and I, we met at Amtrak. We went. She treated me to get my eyebrows done. She was so nice. And then we went to the taping. We're in the Radio City Music Hall. There are about a couple of thousand people in there. They're pumping music on over the speakers to get the crowd hyped. They're playing Whitney Houston, I Want to Dance with Somebody. I mean, we were in there jamming. And so all of a sudden, Oprah's about to take her seats. I'm getting kind of excited because, I'm an Oprah fan. And we're sitting and we're excited, and all of a sudden I get an email on my phone, which I should have turned off. But I got an email on my phone from one of my other sisters telling me that our mother was going in for heart surgery the next morning. Now, we had anticipated that she would go into surgery on the 23rd, not the 22nd. The date was moved up because she was experiencing some challenges with her health, and they were concerned about complications. And so I'm sitting here at this moment that I've been looking forward to for months. If you watch this program, you know I've been talking about it forever. Oprah is about to take the stage. I get this email and the tears just start to flow. Now, it wasn't a big boo-hoo-hoo sob cry, but it was really just a rush of emotions, the fear that, you know, my mother was going to not be with us, that she was going to be in surgery, the guilt I was not there with her. Now, mind you, she got 8 kids. Grown kids. She lives in my brother's house, you know, so it's not that she's not taken care of, but the guilt started to come. A little bit of resentment came. You all are sending me an email now. Everybody has known that I've been waiting to see Oprah for all these weeks. You couldn't wait a couple of hours. You know what I'm saying? So just the guilt, the shame, the sadness, all of it, and the tears just start to flow. And I was quiet about it, but Kendra noticed, and she turned to me and she was like, you know, there's nothing we can do to help Miami now. The family is with her. She is in Boston. Let's enjoy this moment. Let's be present for this moment. And we'll deal with that. We will give it our full attention when we are past this moment. And those are exactly the words that I would have said to her or anybody else in that situation for that matter. But it was comforting to get that. It was comforting to hear that. So I was able to pull it together. And I was able to really enjoy and really absorb the lessons that Deepak was teaching us. Now, if you want the content of what Deepak had to say, go visit Oprah.com. Or visit her Facebook page, because she has the links to the actual webcast. And it's a really, he gave a really powerful lecture that day and did a lot of really healing work with the audience. So I really encourage you to go and watch that program. And so we sat through it, and it was amazing. I have to say, it was amazing. So go watch the rebroadcast so you can get the insights as well. So we stayed for that taping. I took her to the train station, got something to eat, and I came back downtown to go to Tony Robbins taping. It was also a very powerful evening, a very powerful program. Now, Tony Robbins is very different from Deepak Chopra. Deepak is very serene, very peaceful, very monk-like, and Tony Robbins is just mad amped. He was just hyped. He had the whole crowd just jumping pretty much the whole time. But the underlying theme, the feeling tone, the content of each of their messages was really, really very similar. And so when you go and watch the programs, I'd be interested if you can Facebook me or email me and tell me what you think, if you could see the similarities between these two really different figures. So I sat through the Tony Robbins taping. It was awesome. I get back in the train, go back uptown to the apartment where I was staying, and I was staying with 3 young people. One of them was out of town, but the apartment of 3 young people who I've known since they were in high school, who are now, you know, graduated from college, and are now working, living, and pursuing careers as dancers in New York City. So I get home to their apartment. One of the girls that lives there, Mickey, was coming in from work and from around that same time, and I sort of debriefed with her of my day and how awesome it was, and making Michael Beckwith and, you know, everything that happened. And so it was great. I was exhausted though, so I go in my room, well, the room that I was staying. I went to go to bed. I got online to tweet, and I was going to send an email, and I got an email from my mother. And my mother sends us an email to the entire family from her hospital bed. And she has on this beautiful purple robe. She has a kitamba, a head wrap on her head. She had these big old Mama Odie glasses, but she still looked cute. And it was a video that was sent to reassure us that she was going to be okay, that she believed it was going to be fine, that her ancestors, God, was going to take care of her, and that she wanted the family to make sure we stick together. And interestingly enough, the video that was sent to reassure me devastated me. And I went from being a 44-year-old at that time to a 4-year-old and started boo-hooing like a banshee. I was done, because it really started to click to me in that moment. The real reality hit me that I could lose my mother tomorrow. You know, these things, we don't know about the surgery business. You know, some things work, sometimes they don't. They have complications, all kinds of things. And I've known this woman my whole life. And there is not a woman walking on earth today who I hold up higher than I hold that woman. I can feel myself getting emotional just thinking about it all over again. I'm not going to do that now though. But so I get this DVD, the video online, and I'm looking at it, and I'm devastated. I can't even contain the tears. I can't contain the sobbing. I'm just heaving. I'm doing it silently because I didn't want to wake up the children. Now they're all in their mid-20s now, but they're still children to me. And so I was at a loss. I didn't know what to do. It was the most painful, fearful moment that I've ever had in my entire life. And it is a good place for a cliffhanger, don't you think? We're going to take a little break. When we come back, I'm going to share with you how I was able to walk through one of the most difficult, painful, scariest moments of my life, and the powerful lesson that I learned from that very same experience. So we're going to take a little break. Be back in about 30 seconds, maybe more, and we're going to pick up where we left off. Welcome back to Live by Design. I'm your host, Muadi Davinga. Is the suspense killing you? The last time we spoke right before the break, I was explaining that I had just gotten an email the night before my mother's heart surgery where she had sent a video to the entire family reassuring us that everything was going to be okay. My ancestors were going to take care of her. She wanted the family to stick together and she was going to be fine. And this videotape that was supposed to comfort me devastated me. And as I said, I went from being a 44-year-old, pretty confident woman to a 4-year-old girl that was afraid I was going to lose my mother. As a matter of fact, just thinking about it right now is sort of bringing some stuff up for me, so I'm going to move this along quickly. So I was boohooing, just tears. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't call anybody in the family because I knew that the ones that were in Boston were getting ready to take my mom to the hospital early that next morning, and they needed their rest, and they had their own fears that they were dealing with. And those of us that were not in Boston, they were probably in the same position that I was, feeling helpless and feeling afraid. And I didn't want to compound anybody else's fear. I didn't want to compound anybody else's pain. So I did what I've been doing now for the last maybe 6 or 7 years. Whenever I have, a problem, I picked up the phone and called my friend Al. And Al and I have been friends for 10 years. And when we first became friends, and he would say, "Oh, call me anytime," I, Muadi Davinga, the person who always had to be in charge and had to be there for everybody, would never take him up on it. Or I would call and be like, "Oh, I hate to bother you, but I'm dealing with this," or "I hate to bother you, but," "I hate to bother you, but." Then as the years went on and I became confident in our friendship, there were no more "I hate to bother you, but." I would just pick up the phone. "What you doing? Let's start talking." Call that brother 4:30 in the morning. I'd call him right now if I felt like it. And if he was there, and if he could do it, and if he was free, he would talk and be there for me. Same thing that night. It was 12:30. I pick up the phone. I call that brother. He's an Oprah hater. And he's watching the show. He knows he's an Oprah hater. And so he picks up the phone. He's like, "How's Oprah?" And I could hear it in his voice, kind of. But I couldn't even respond. I was just heaving and crying. And so when he got to the place where he was like, "Oh, something's wrong with Muadi," then he was like, "What's the problem?" He walked me through it, the same thing as Kempton did with me. "There's nothing you can do about it now. Let's not worry about things that haven't come. You're making yourself more stressed out." The things that a good friend, in your AAA team, your crew that I always talk about, would do. Talked me off the ledge. I was okay. I felt better. I got up the next morning, got on the train, came back to D.C. because I did have a workshop to prep for, because I was confident that my family in Boston had my mother and could support her, and that I would get there when I could get there, which was, shortly thereafter, and everything would work out as it was supposed to work out. And that if, heaven forbid, something were to happen that I would not be able to make it, I was at peace, because I know that what I do with my mother is I do express my feelings for her on a daily basis, on a regular basis. So she had her surgery. It was successful, after which I was in Boston with her for about 3 weeks, having a good time. And so the question you're probably asking yourself right now, "Okay, Muadi, what's the point? You were supposed to be talking about Oprah, and here we are talking about something completely different." Here's the point. Oprah often talks about what she calls the Wizard of Oz, the Dorothy effect. At the end of the Wizard of Oz, Dorothy, she's clicking her heels. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. The story, the message being that what she wanted, she had the whole time. What she had inside, what she needed, she had inside of her. And Oprah uses that lesson. She used it when we were at the Oprah taping. And again, go online, watch her programs, and watch the webcasts, because they were very enlightening. And I often teach that. I often share that as well. Everything you want, you already have inside of you. That weekend, it confirmed it for me. This is how I know this to be true. 4 or 5 years ago is when I started to do my own transformation back to myself, my own journey, when I made a decision to let go of the stories that I used to tell myself about myself and start to live the truth of who I was. And in those 5 years, I learned to open my eyes and really be able to express love and joy and really feel the truth of the love that the people around me really have for me. That was 5 years ago. Kendra, my sister who I talked about at the beginning of this story, I've known her 20 years. Tyrone ran through the rain to give me an umbrella, has been there for me so throughout the years in ways I can't even begin to count. Known that brother 20 years. The children, the young people that I stayed with when I was in Manhattan and I needed a place to stay so I could attend that taping, 10 years. My friend Al, who's there for me like nobody else outside of my family has been for me, 10 years. I didn't start to really feel the full expression of their love, of their support, of their caring until about 4 or 5 years ago. They didn't change. They've been there the whole time. 20 years, 10 years, 8 years. They did not change. Their love for me has not changed. Their expression of that love for me has not changed. I changed. Because when I started to do the work necessary to get back to myself, it opened up my eyes. It opened up my third eye so that I was no longer doing what most of us do, overlooking the blessings that were already in my life. That's the lesson. Back then, back in the day, 5 years ago, I was so focused on what I thought I didn't have, what I thought I needed, what it looked like other people had, and I allowed that story, I allowed that distortion, that misperception to cloud me and shape me in such a way that I was an angry person, and I disguised my anger in authority. I disguised it, oh, I'm a strong person, but underneath it was anger, and underneath that was hurt and fear, feeling that if I wasn't doing for other people, they wouldn't be in my life, that there were strings attached, emotional invoices, and that people really didn't love me for me. And then as I began to sort of peel away all that conditioning and peel away all that storytelling, that's why I always say leave the storytelling to Mother Goose and live in the truth. As I began to peel that away and look at my life through fresh eyes, with a clean lens, I was able to see the love, the support, the nourishment, the cherishing, the companionship that I always wanted. I've always had it. I've always had it. But I allowed myself to be so distracted by all these other nonsensical things that did not matter that I lost sight of it, that I couldn't see it. Like I said, Tyrone, Al, Kendra, the children, my family. My friend Rita, who I talk about sometimes on this show as well. My brother Omekungo, who's one of the biggest supporters that I have. My nephews, my nieces. These people have been in my life for years. But it took me to make the decision to shift my perspective, to open my eyes, and to drop the story and really start to get at peace with myself. It took me doing all of those things to allow me to really see it. So the question that I now pose to you is this: what blessings are you overlooking in your life right now? There's someone, something, some circumstances in your life right now that are cause enough for you to be joyful, that are cause enough for you to be happy. Now, I personally think just being here on this planet right now, breathing, is enough of a reason to be happy and joyful. But you know, that's me. In the absence of that, or beyond that, there are people in your life right now who love you. There are people in your life right now who will support you. There are things about that job that you can't stand, that job that you don't like to go to. There's something at that job that if you allowed yourself to look at it with a new lens could actually fulfill you, or maybe inspire you to move on to the next thing. My point is this: let's stop overlooking the blessings that we already have in our life. And we do that by focusing and redirecting our attention within, asking ourselves empowering questions, looking at the people in our life and really asking ourselves, really taking an inventory of how people treat us. And the more we focus on those who treat us well, the less time you have to spend chasing that guy, chasing that girl that does not want you. Right? Or pursuing a career, pursuing things that are not aligned with who you are. Let's stop overlooking what is in our life right now. I encourage all of you, do an environmental scan. Because if I had really taken the time to work on myself and detach myself from the expectations and the values of other people and stop looking at other people's lives and really turn that attention into what was working in my life, this peace that snuck up on me 5 years ago, I could have had it all this time. You know, they always say the grass looks like it's always greener. In somebody else's yard, I always say you'd have green grass too if you watered it every once in a while. And that's what I'm talking about today. That's the lesson that I got from Oprah. Not from what happened within the taping itself, but all of the wonderful life lessons that I got outside of Radio City Music Hall over the course of those 2 days. Stop overlooking your blessings. Stop complaining. Stop comparing. Stop coveting. Stop looking at other people and using their lives as a gauge to determine the extent to which you can be satisfied and fulfilled in who you are right now. We can always improve. We can always grow. We can always expand. But recognize you're not starting from ground zero. You're starting from a place of abundance, peace, love, and joy already. And you would be able to feel that. You would be able to absorb that. You would be able to draw strength from that if you just open your eyes, open your third eye, and stop overlooking your blessings. And that's the lesson that I got from Oprah, and that's the lesson that I wanted to share with you today. I hope that you got something out of this little conversation. I don't often, I do talk about myself a lot, but it's not because I want everybody to envy me or anything like that. It's because when I walk through things, I try to use my life as a living lab to share what I've learned in hopes that it will inspire you to bring that same sense of consciousness and awareness to your life, because that's what you deserve. I want to thank you for joining me today. I look forward to being with you very soon. In the meantime, I trust that you will have a fabulous day and that you will now go out and do a little environmental scan of your own life and do a little evidence collection, a little collecting of evidence to find those things, find those people that are already in your life right now that are waiting for you to show up and be fully present and experience the fullness of what it is that they have to offer. Your life can be different, and it doesn't take a lot. It just takes you to make a decision that you are going to look at your life differently and stop overlooking your blessings. That's all for now. I will see you soon. You can find me on Facebook. You can follow me. Don't follow me. Join me on Twitter. And you can also reach out to me via email at mdabinga@muadiunlimited.com. I'd love to hear from you. Until we meet again, have a fantastic day.